IBIS, a true whale story by John Himmelman. I want you to think about this cover, and I want you to think about whales. This is a story that is based on something that happened to a real whale named IBIS. What do you know about whales? I want you to think about what you know about a whale, and you can say it to yourself, say it to your learning coach, or just think about it. So we are going to start reading the book, IBIS. Deep in a bay off the coast of an old fishing village lived a pod of humpback whales. What do you think a pod of humpback whales is? What do you think? Let's look at the picture. What do you think a pod means? A pod is a group of animals, such as whales. One of the whales was a little calf named IBIS. IBIS was curious about everything in the ocean. Okay, so see, you have this word calf highlighted. What is a calf? What do you think? A little calf named IBIS. A calf is a baby whale or a baby cow. One day, she and her friend Blizzard went out swimming. They saw many kinds of fish. The most interesting fish were the starfish. IBIS liked to look at them. There were something about their shape that made her feel good. Oh, I see two more highlighted words. As IBIS and Bliss were drifting over a reef, they heard a strange humming noise. The two calves, baby whales, the two calves looked up to see something large and dark pass overhead. Oh, what do you think that is? It was as big as a whale, but it wasn't a whale. What do you think that is? So the word drifting. The word drifting also means floating. The word reef is a strip of rock, sand, or coral close to the surface of the ocean. So let's read that one more time. As IBIS and Blizzard were drifting or floating over a reef is a strip of rock, sand, or coral close to the surface of the ocean. They heard a strange humming noise. The two calves looked up to see something large and dark pass overhead. It was as big as a whale, but it wasn't a whale. The calves were frightened. They had never seen a boat before. They swam back to their mother. The next day, IBIS went back to the reef. Remember what the reef is? A strip of rock, sand, or coral close to the surface of the ocean. It wasn't long before another boat came along. Again, IBIS was scared, but she was curious too. She forced herself to swim to the surface. In the cool, hazy air, the word hazy means misty. In the cool, hazy or misty air, she saw several faces watching her. They didn't look scary. In fact, they looked very friendly. IBIS liked them. In the months that followed, IBIS and her friends lost their fear of boats. Boats came in many sizes and shapes. The people in them always seemed to enjoy seeing the little whales. What's another word for little whales? A calf. A calf is a baby whale. As IBIS grew up, she learned more about the sea. She knew what kinds of sharks to avoid. Avoid is one of our words today. And avoid means to stay away from. So let's reread that sentence. She knew what kinds of sharks to avoid or stay away from, what food was the tastiest, and best of all, where to find the most dazzling starfish. IBIS never got tired of looking at starfish. People in their boats became a part of her life. Whenever a boat passed overhead, she swam to the top to say hello. One evening, IBIS and Blizzard, remember her friend was Blizzard, saw a school of fish swimming around the bottom of a ship. So a school of fish is a lot of fish, okay, where there's a whole bunch of them. So let's reread that. One evening, IBIS and Blizzard saw a school, or a whole lot, of fish swimming around the bottom of the ship. Maybe there was something good up there to eat. They went to find out. Suddenly, IBIS was caught in a fishing net. She fought to get free, but the more she struggled, the more tangled she became. Finally, she broke loose, but part of the net was caught in her mouth and wrapped around her tail. Blizzard swam off to find help. IBIS was confused and hurt. She wanted to get away, far from the people, and the boats and nets. Slowly and painfully, she made her way toward the deep ocean. Look at how the net is still around her mouth. Many weeks passed and IBIS grew very ill. The net in her mouth made it hard for her to eat. And every time she went to the surface for air, the net cut into her tail. But if she didn't get air every half hour, she would die. Winter was coming and it was time for the whales to move to warmer waters, but IBIS felt too weak to make the long journey. Instead, she turned back towards the coast. It was so hard for her to swim. She could barely keep moving. IBIS was about to give up. Then she saw a familiar shape. It was Blizzard. Blizzard saw that IBIS needed help. Gently, Blizzard pushed her to the surface so she could breathe. Suddenly, the water was filled with the sounds of boat engines. The whales saw two small rafts. A raft is another one of our words today. A raft is a floating platform or boat, often made from rubber. Let's get this up so you can see the word raft. The whales saw two small rafts, or a floating platform or boat often made from rubber, and the boats circling them. Blizzard and Abyss tried to get away fast, but Abyss wasn't quick enough. The boats rushed towards her before she could dive. I bet she was scared. Remember, she trusted the people at the beginning of the story, and then the same type of people, not the same people, but they looked the same to her, put her in a net, and it made her very sick. And so how do you think she feels about these people circling her in a boat? The people in the boats began to attach large floats to the pieces of net that were hurting Abyss. Blizzard stayed nearby, circling the boats nervously. I think Blizzard very much cared about her friend Abyss. Because of the floats, Abyss could not dive. She began to panic. Panic's our last vocabulary word today. Panic means to become very afraid. She began to panic or became very afraid. But she did not have the strength to fight. When the boats came closer, a person reached into the water. What do you think she's going to do? Abyss stared at the person's hand. The hand reminded her of something she loved very much, and she began to feel better. Soon, many hands dipped into the water. Abyss felt them tugging at the lines of the net. Moments later, the lines fell away and she was free. Abyss blew a big spout from her blowhole, as if to say thank you, thank you. Then she dived deep into the water. For the first time in many weeks, she felt no pain. She felt wonderful. Blizzard joined her. Then the two whales popped back to the surface for one more look. The people were waving their starfish-shaped hands. Abyss knew the hands had helped her, and that people were still her friends. Soon, Blizzard and Abyss were leaping and diving with all the other whales far away from in the warm waters where they could spend the winters together. So this is a true story. A true story is also called nonfiction. What do you think happened after all of this? Let's find out. Afterwards, Abyss is a real humpback whale. I first saw her one October morning in 1985 when my family and I were aboard a whale watching ship off the coast of Provincetown, Massachusetts. The whale swam right up to the boat as if to welcome us to part of her world, and soon we learned Abyss's story from the marine scientists on board. He told us that only 1 year before, Abyss had been caught in the strands of a fisherman's gill net. The scientists who studied the whales in the area found her fighting to surface for air. Several hours later, when she didn't come up, she was believed to have drowned. But shortly afterwards, on Thanksgiving Day, a research boat from the Provincetown Center set out to record whale songs. A member of the crew spotted two whales swimming together. One of the whales was trapped in a net. It was Abyss. The crew rescued her by attaching floats to her net. In this way, they could help keep her at the surface so they could reach into the water to free her. She was the first whale ever saved from entanglement. Most are not so lucky. Countless whales have died over the years after accidentally getting caught into gill nets. As I have watched IBIS playing in the water around us, I could understand why those who knew her had fought so hard to save her. And I got the idea to write this and illustrate my very own version of her story for this book. Because of the successful rescue of IBIS, the Provincetown Center for Coastal Studies has added an entanglement fund to the program. A portion of my profits from this book will go towards that fund. Thank you, Stormy Mayo, David Madalow, Carol Danton, Mark Gilmore, Mary Pratt, Sharon Pittman, and Charles Mayo Jr. for the precious life you saved. And thank you, IBIS, for bringing me a little closer to your world. John Himmelman. The end.